Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a first look at the Sony FE f4 24-105G lens. Now, Sony just got this to me right in time for my trip. I'm getting ready to leave. I actually leave tomorrow. I've had some time to play with it, and that's why I'm giving some impressions. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with this lens, it was announced alongside the A7R Mark III. I didn't order it at the time because, well, Sony had told me they were going to furnish me with one, and here it finally is. Now, it is still back ordered just about everywhere, and this is a lens rental, so I will be getting it back to them, of course. But this is a long-awaited lens for me because it is an ideal piece of glass for those of you who really don't want to have to switch. Ironic, considering you own a full-frame mirrorless interchangeable lens camera that this will work with, starting from, of course, the original A7 all the way up to the current A9, A7R Mark III, and A7 Mark III, and the soon-to-be A7S Mark III. But this really is a winner, and I say that because throughout that whole range of 24-105, granted, we are limited that it's f4, it does a fantastic job. Now, this is a pumper, as they say. It does extend as you zoom. In terms of quality, though, I have to say it's right on par with the Sony PZ 28-135, which I actually have been using a lot and love. But just to give you an idea of the size difference, just to get an actual power zoom, there you have it. So, of course, the PZ in my left hand is designed specifically with video in mind, 4K video at that, even though it is a full-frame hybrid lens, kind of promising the best of both worlds, which is exactly why I went after it, got it at a very good price, and haven't looked back. It's coming with me on my trip. But so is the 24-105, and that's because I know there will be times when I will not need that dedicated video lens, or, this lens will end up on another body being used, so this way I can switch back and forth. It may be on my A7R Mark II, my A6500, we'll see. But for those of you that have been wondering about this lens, because at, I believe it's $12.99, it is a bargain. And that is because it's got a fantastic range. Again, the type where you will not need anything but this, depending on your type of photography, because it is wide enough at 24 and long enough at 105, in my opinion. And then, of course, form factor. It is not tremendous. There were some production problems, which is why this lens is still, back ordered pretty much everywhere. Sony moved away from the Zeiss branding, so this, of course, just wears the good old G mark, which there is absolutely nothing wrong. And I've used this on the A7 Mark III, the A7R Mark III. Did I just say that? Or the A7 Mark III? I'm starting to make myself nuts. And the A6500. And it's just been a fantastic piece of glass that will not kill your back and will, again, give you pretty much the range you're looking for across the board. So I highly recommend it, even though this is a first look. I, of course, am about to spend a lot more time with it on my trip, but I do think that if you're wondering whether or not this lens is right for you, Sony appears to have rectified the production issues. I highly recommend it because you are not going to find a piece of glass like this with its capability and range at a similar price point in Sony's native FE lineup. And that's why, again, I keep comparing it to the massive beast that I was taking and still am taking on my trip to really turn my all of my A7 and A6500 cameras into UHD cameras as well. And that is, of course, they all film 4K, but I mean with a power zoom, a servo zoom. So again, the beauty of this lens is its form factor, overall sharpness, and range, and I highly recommend it. Of course, it does have dedicated switches for optical steady shot as well as autofocus and manual focus. Very smooth on the ring, and I've confirmed with pro support that all of the issues with production, the problems that they encountered, seem to be in the past. Now, it is still on back order pretty much everywhere, but that should give you a peace of mind, because that means you're not going to be getting a lens with an issue. You'll be getting one that actually works as it is meant to right out of the box. So again, wanted to share this with everyone because ever since I got my A7R Mark III, this was a lens that I had planned on picking up, but because I found, again, a great deal on that 28 to 135, I said to myself, I'm going to wait until Sony can furnish this lens to me rather than run out and purchase it, which was incredibly delayed, but kudos, thanks to Sony for getting it out to me for review just in time, again, for a trip where I know it may end up, believe it or not, being the only lens I use, in spite of the fact that I am bringing the Cavalry. I've got lots of lenses, as you might imagine, coming on this trip, and I'll be doing a video about that as well. And essentially, if I end up coming back, I will and using this primarily, all of you subscribers that are loyal, and all of you one and dones, well, one and done isn't coming back, right? Will know, because I'll be letting you know. But again, great lens, great price, and really should be in just about everyone's bag, unless they are purists and only want prime lenses or G Masters, because this is, in my opinion, also a perfect complement to the new A7 Mark III, even though it launched alongside this camera with its 42 megapixel sensor. This lens really is the do-it-all for, in my opinion, the 24 megapixel sensor. That's not to say it doesn't perform well with the A7R Mark III. It does. I just see it being a slightly better fit also in terms of budget, because, of course, if you buy the A7 Mark III and this lens, you've just hit the price point of the A7R Mark III. So, at any rate, an introduction as well as some initial thoughts on, again, the 24 to 105 f4 FE lens. Of course, a G lens, not a G Master. Don't get confused. A great piece of glass that there's a reason, not just the problems, but there's a reason it's still back ordered, and that's because there isn't another native E-mount piece of glass like it, nor has there been. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button, and as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.